Hey guys, my name is Victoria Sinis. Welcome back to the Creating Gems podcast. And today we're just diving right into it. And we're going to look at what it looks like to forgive someone. And this kind of all started maybe like 2 months ago when I was talking on my Instagram about the process of forgiveness of the person who threw me through a window. And I'd put up some photos of it. And you guys actually had asked me, what did that look like to go through forgiving someone that hurt you, and honestly never actually asked to be forgiven. And so these are, I guess, my very kind of quick action points or takeaways of the process of what it looked like for me. So for a little bit of context, it was, I think, a couple weeks before my 21st birthday. And basically there was someone who we believe had like alcohol-induced psychosis, and ended up putting 3 people in the hospital that evening. And unfortunately, I was one of them. And it was a situation where sometimes you can just be a victim of something and you don't do anything and nothing is provoked, but you can just be in the wrong place at the wrong time. And when that happens, sometimes people get hurt. And so for me, I was actually running away from the situation, and the car that I was trying to get into to leave was locked. And because the car was locked and I was trying to open it, there was actually the capacity for this person to come up to me. And they threw me through a window. And there is a excellent Jesus story behind this, but that is perhaps for another day, but we will touch on that a little bit in this because it really helped me in the healing journey. But that's the context of it. And I'll actually put a picture in this of what my face looked like because it was brutal. And so now I'm 21 years old and my face is all messed up, and I have a scar on my forehead that I have to deal with now, and I have to deal with everything that came with that. And it was really hard for me. And I remember for maybe a year, I had so much deep resentment and hatred towards this person. And I would literally like fantasize about different ways that I could hurt this person, because I'm a young girl and I have to live with this on my face every single day. I have to live with the comments and people asking questions. I've had strangers come up and touch my scar and be like, what happened to you there? And it is like the most horribly triggering experience you can have. Every time I get my eyebrows done, I'm triggered because I hate people touching my face and touching my scar. And so there's so many complexities that come when it comes to healing from deep trauma. And so it's not been easy, but there has been, I guess, a system and a process that I've put in place. And it's really important, I think, to learn how to forgive people that have genuinely hurt you when you've been a victim, and how to forgive people that have not asked for forgiveness. And so I actually really care about this. But to rewind back again, as I said, this happened just before my 21st birthday. You've got a little bit of context to very traumatic, and there was diagnosed PTSD after it and all the fun things. And so I had so much literal hatred and anger towards this person. And I would fantasize about ways that I could hurt them and what I could do to them. And like, we should do this and get people to run through their house and blah, blah, blah. I was not following Jesus, guys. So you can imagine that we were thinking of some pretty extreme ways to get back at this person. And even going through like courts and all of that, like it was just so much. And for anyone who's ever been through trying to sue someone, they know that it is just as triggering, it is just as horrific of a situation. And so all of this compiled to basically this person is able to get away. They had nothing happen to them, no legal ramifications for this. And they were able to then also spread whatever story they wanted about that situation that night, because it involved many people. So imagine you're a genuine victim of something. You have ramifications of that on your face. You're dealing with PTSD. This person has had no justice to them. And then there's rumors out in your community on what everyone else perceives happened that night. And people always have their lens and perspective on how things are done. You can imagine what this is brewing inside of me. And I have no community. I have no support. I have no emotional support. I have no one checking in, no one helping, no one even acknowledging it. My family like swept it under the rug, and it was like this super shameful, embarrassing thing. So that made me feel like it was my fault. So all of this ruminates to me in like a grumpy girl. But honestly, like actually like really full of anger and hatred. And I remember the starting of this healing journey was before Jesus. But I remember one day I was sitting there, maybe a year and a half after this happened, and I'm so mad, I'm so angry. And I thought of like a very specific situation of how I would want this person to also be hurt. And then I remember I had this moment of revelation. And I just went, me being angry at this person doesn't make this person wake up and think, I think Vic's angry at me today. And then it ruins their day. But I wake up every single day and I'm angry at this person and it ruins my day. And so my logic brain kicked in and I went, this is stupid. Why am I continuing to stay angry when it literally doesn't do anything? It only affects me. And so then in that moment, it was like just acknowledging, but it was like in that moment, just acknowledging that this is stupid and this isn't serving anyone, because me being angry doesn't get this person convicted of assault. Me being angry doesn't get the plastic surgery needed on my face, made an easier process. Me being angry doesn't negate what has happened and the feelings that I have to now go through to deal with this. It just made everything worse. And so that was just this weird moment of clarity of going, this is dumb. I don't want to be angry anymore. And having to make an active decision to choose that. And so I just chose, I'm not going to be angry at this person anymore. And so that doesn't come into forgiveness. This comes later on. But in that moment, I chose not to be angry anymore because it wasn't serving me and there was no point to it. And so I think that for people, an actionable that you can take away is, what is your anger serving? Because is it actually impeding on the person, or is it just ruining your day every day? And logic something, don't always be ruled with an emotion brain and just go, probably not. And I think this is especially for women, especially when it comes to men and like men that cheat on us, hurt us, whatever. I have those stories too. But you just have to logic it and go, am I going to let this determine me as a human and destroy me and make me rotten and make me gross and unkind and not a very nice person to be around and literally destroy me from the inside out? Or am I going to choose just to not be angry at them anymore and go on with my life? Because the more you live in the past, the more it affects your present, and the more that person just keeps winning and they're not even doing anything and they're just taking up all of this place and space in your mind when it's just not necessary. So I think that a little logic brain has to come into healing and forgiveness, to be honest with you. But that was like the first thing that I did to be able to start to get over, how do I forgive someone who actually, never asked for forgiveness or whatever. I just had to go, there's no point in being angry anymore and this is stupid, and just radically accepting that and moving on. And so now we fast forward to like 5 years later and I find Jesus, and there was this two things that happened that were extremely significant in this healing journey and process. Is number one, I found Jesus and I went head first into healing. I did not shy away from it. And this comes back to radical acceptance. And I think that this is extremely important for people to know if you want to be an emotionally mature person, is radical acceptance. I came into a relationship with Jesus and I knew that there was a lot of problems within my heart. And one of the first things I ever did coming into faith was write down every single traumatic event that has ever happened to me, anyone who has ever hurt me, anyone that I've ever been mad, everything that you can think of, the ugliest of the ugliest, the darkest of the dark. And I wrote it out and I said, Jesus, I don't want to be this way anymore. Help me get rid of all these things. And that was extremely important because I had to radically accept that I had flaws and I had hurt and I had pain, and that the only way I'm going to get rid of all of this is I must dive head into it. And like emphasis on must, because the only way you can overcome something is to literally go through it. And so I did everything that I understood in my capacity that I could to show up to get through all of the trauma. And so it was being open with people about it and talking to pastors about it and getting into therapy sessions. And they have this thing called like prayer ministry or like sozo. I think they're two different things. I don't really know, but it's really intense. And it's like this crazy like healing therapy for Christians, and it's very spiritual. Crazy stuff happens. You can get delivered from demons. Yes, they are real. And that happened that day. But that's what I had to dive into. Like I literally came into faith and I was like, I have to take radical acceptance and accountability, for there is so much that is hurting me and there are things in my life that I'm still not over. And so I call them your big T trauma. And so there's been about 3 very specific events in my life that have been significant big T trauma. And one of them was getting thrown through this window. And so again, I had to have that lens on of I must take radical acceptance of this. I must have the humility to know that there are things in my life that need fixing and need help. And I don't want to feel this way anymore. So what are the actionables that I can take to go through this process? And so literally that's just what I did is I got into as much therapy as I could, as much prayer ministry as I could. So I threw myself into this stuff within the first 3 months of finding Jesus. And so I think that's really important to know that God doesn't just help you, but he can heal you. And I would read the Bible and I would take it simply at its word. And so it literally talks about this, and you can renew your mind, and it talks about forgiveness, and it talks about the condition of your heart, and your heart can be stone and then it turns into flesh. And I'm just like, I want all of that. If it says it in the Bible, why can't I have it? And it was literally as simple as that. I didn't overthink it and I didn't overcomplicate it. But I said, if it's in the Bible, I believe this to be true. Therefore, that's true for me. And so I just would be to my, how do I have this happen? It says there's demons in here. Do I have demons? Whatever it is, get rid of this for me. And I was ruthless with it. And I just kept going at it. And so through that very intentional, intense pursuit of healing through Jesus, and again, reading the Bible, taking it at its word in the simplicity of what it says and believing it wholeheartedly, I was able to be put into environments around more experienced people than me, who were able to pray with me, who were able to kind of help navigate and put language to what had happened, to help me with the hurt of it, and then to get rid of whatever needed to be get rid of, I guess. And then it was again the radical acceptance piece of going, this had happened, I am now healed from this, I have now overcome this. I believe, again, to emphasize what the Bible says, I take it at its word. It is really simple. If that's what it says, therefore that is my truth. And then I just acted in that way. And so I was like, well, I forgive this person because I don't want to be mad anymore, and I'm healed, and I understand why that situation happened now, and I have empathy for this person, and I have a lens now of faith. And so now my really deep conviction from all of this is if I stay mad at that person and I don't pray for that person and I don't forgive that person, how dare I be so arrogant as to believe that they don't deserve what I have? How dare I think that? Because my overarching theme of why I do everything is everyone deserves this. What is this? To understand the full revelation of God so loved the world that he gave his only son. And so everyone deserves this, even the people that have hurt me. And so I cannot for a second think that because someone hurt me, they're less than deserving of this. Because the consequence of not having this is eternity without Jesus. And there is no one in the planet, no matter what they have done to me, that does not deserve that. And so through all of this healing, I've been able to have such a deep empathy for other people and understand that for someone to throw someone through a window with the intent to kill them, how broken must that person be? And so I have to pray for this person. I don't have to, I must. I get to. It is a joy that I get to pray for this person and ask God to intercede into their life and turn their heart of stone into a heart of flesh, and use these scriptures that change my life and my heart and my perspective on other people. And so I guess the actionables of that for people is number one, using a logic brain and understanding that being angry at someone doesn't do anything for you, and choosing to not be angry anymore. And then the total honest truth is, because people who ask me about forgiveness, a lot of people that ask me about forgiveness don't understand Jesus, and they're actually not believers. And to be honest with you, I don't think that you can really understand how to forgive people unless you understand who Jesus is. So I don't think I could have, in total transparency. I don't think I could have healed. And so my encouragement would be that if you're hearing this and you're struggling with forgiveness, until you understand this thing called Jesus and what he kind of did on the cross and how we've been forgiven. And again, this comes back to everyone deserves this, to understand the full revelation of God so loved the world that he gave his only son. Till you understand that and understand the forgiveness we've received, you're not really going to understand, I don't think, how to forgive others and the framework that's needed. So my encouragement is literally to just, wherever you're hearing this, just whisper out to Jesus of, Jesus, if you're real, can you actually help me forgive someone? Can you heal me from this pain? And it literally doesn't have to be any more complicated than that. You can literally whisper that, and I promise you he will show up. And so that's just my encouragement of where to begin, is just whisper that, Jesus, if you're real, can you help me heal? And I promise you that he will. And if you are someone in faith that is listening to this, my strong encouragement is be ruthless in your healing journey. Dive into it. Talk to people about it. Get into sozos, get into prayer ministries, get into therapy, and just have radical acceptance for the fact that there is something that is still going on, and actively pursue whatever it takes to be able to heal from that thing. Yeah, that's what I did. And now literally I could care less that I got thrown through a window because it's an epic Jesus story and I love to tell it. So anyways, that's my very short, I guess, little nugget for you guys of, how I've been able to heal and what to do to forgive someone when they've never asked for forgiveness and you've been a genuine victim of something. So I hope that there's actionables in there for you, and there's things that you can take to be able to go on your own healing journey as well. So thanks, guys.